Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Big Question Sermon Overtime. Today we are tackling Little Big Question number 7, which is this. This person says, what's the difference between a Christian and a Catholic? They are both Christians, right? Why are Catholics so weird about saying they are Christians? That's a great question. And I actually asked one of my best friends who is a Catholic for some insights on this whole thing. And the answer basically goes like this. If you were to look at a super short version timeline of the history of Christianity, right, you have Jesus dying on the cross, coming back to life, and the beginning of what we call the church around 30-33 AD. Okay? And then, as time goes on from there, the church grows and grows and grows over the years, despite being heavily persecuted, basically labeled as illegal, and even despite all sorts of heresies that start popping up and people teaching weird stuff about Jesus. In fact, around 110 AD is when the term Catholic started to be used to describe the church. A guy named Ignatius of Antioch said to be among the first Christians to use the term Catholic to distinguish the true church from all the weird heresies and weird spiritual stuff that started popping up about Jesus. And the word Catholic itself really just means universal. We're the universal church. We're the real thing. Not to be confused, by the way, with the Universalist church. That's something else entirely. Don't go to that church. So then, around 312 AD, the Roman Emperor Constantine actually becomes a Christian. And he not only makes Christianity legal, but he eventually makes it the official religion of the Roman Empire. Well, as you can imagine, Christians at the time are stoked, man. I mean, that enables the church to grow a lot more from then on very publicly. And things went well for a while. Until around 1500 AD, when the people in charge of the church at the time started trying some not-so-biblical things to raise money for the church. And long story short, around 1517 AD, there was a guy named Martin Luther, who was a priest, who called the church on it. In fact, he made a list of 95 things that he saw the church doing that he felt was way off base from where we started and what Jesus meant for the church to be like. Well, long story short, Martin Luther gets kicked out of the church, but he gains some followers of his own who agree with him. And Christianity kind of splits in two during this thing we call the Reformation. You've probably heard of that before in like high school or college history class, right? And during that time, you get the people who stayed in the church as it was, which we call Catholics to this day. And you get the people who broke away from the church, but were still followers of Jesus. In fact, they're trying to be even better followers of Jesus than they felt they could be as part of the Catholic Church. And we called those people who broke away Protestants because they were protesting what they saw as unbiblical. Get it? They wanted to get back to the original blueprint for what we call church. The thing was, the church had gotten so far away from certain things in the Bible that there were a lot of disagreements on just how far we needed to go to get back to what Jesus did intend. And over time, under the category of Protestants, you get Lutherans, named after Martin Luther, right? And Presbyterians, and Episcopalians, and Wesleyans, and Methodists, and Baptists, and all the other denominations that you hear about today, all as a result of people going, you know, we need to change this, and this, and this, and this, and to be more biblical, we need to do this, and this. And some denominations would stop at one point, others would say, no, we need to keep going and change this. And all that's going on with the Protestants, while the Catholics are basically just staying Catholic, and they kind of keep going in their own direction. And today, when you meet a Catholic who maybe says something like, oh, I'm Catholic, not Christian, what they actually mean is, I'm Catholic, not Protestant. They're just confusing the terms there. If they're truly Catholic, they still believe in Jesus, and they still follow Jesus, right? They just have a lot of beliefs and things that they've added to Scripture over time, which are things that people like me tend to still look at today as kind of off track from what Jesus intended. That's why we do things the way we do at SCC. That's why we're not Catholic. But hear me, that doesn't mean Catholics are evil people or something. Again, one of my best friends is Catholic, like I said. Actually, he thinks it's kind of ridiculous when Catholics say things like, I'm Catholic, not Christian, too. So, like anything, it just depends on the person you're talking to.